morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me. Today is Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. Here we have a live view from the Old Faithful webcam that's stationed on top of the hotel there at Old Faithful. USGS has not reported any earthquakes since the 4th of this month, even though there has been earthquakes. Also, 11 Yellowstone bison have been trucked from Fort Peck to Saskatchewan Reservation. Let me show you a map of where that's at. Here we have the border with Montana and Canada, and this is the area, according to Google, doing a search of Saskatchewan. Yeah, so okay, we'll bring it down a little bit. For the first time, bison were transported from the indigenous people in the U.S. to Canada as part of the Yellowstone Bison Conservation Transfer Program. One of the head of the First Nations there in Saskatchewan said that they received 11 bison from Fort Peck from the Sioux tribes in Montana. These bisons lived in Yellowstone National Park prior to being shipped there. If you look at the bottom of this current image, you'll see 3 bison. Looks like possibly 2, maybe 3 adults. Oh, there we go. They moved the camera. Anyways, Chief Tanya Stone of Mosquito Grizzly Bear Head, Lean Man First Nation, said in a press release that these bison are coming to them as a family group led by a matriarch. It was a beautiful gift. It is deeply meaningful. And they collectively, they moved the camera again, are rebuilding their relationship to them as they teach them for the perseverance, strength, and determination. Chamois Anderson with the nonprofit Defenders of Wildlife helped with the transportation and other logistics. She said the bison traveled on a 700-mile route from Fort Peck tribes in northeastern Montana to the tribal nation in Saskatchewan. Lots of singing, and the whole community was yelling and happy and just absolutely jubilation. It was really, really remarkable, she said. The 3 bulls and 7 cows and 1 calf that were transported first came to Fort Peck from Yellowstone National Park in 2014. The animals were tested and are now disease-free. Yeah, they wanted to make sure there was no diseases before they were shipped to Canada. Robbie Magnan, the buffalo herd manager with the Fort Peck tribes in Montana, said he's been working with the United States Department of Agricultural and Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service and members of the Canadian First National Nations on plans to return bison to their homelands. I'm hoping that it is the first of many to come. There's other Native nations in Canada also interested, but we had to get through the first hoop, he said. The bison were sent as part of a Buffalo Treaty between tribal nations in the U.S. and Canada to restore bison to millions of acres of landscape. Since 2018, the Bison Conservation Transfer Program has sent more than 400 bison to 26 tribes in 12 states. Now that would be here in the U.S. Yeah, they regularly cull bison out of Yellowstone National Park, keeping the numbers down so that, it doesn't overpopulate. And I suppose that they fear that they might not have enough to eat. I don't know. I know that in the past that they have driven the bison back into the park when they go outside the borders. You know, it's not good for the cattle ranchers if they do have diseases and bring that diseases to the cattle ranchers' herds. Currently, they're looking at what they call beehive. You know, once in a while it snows and we get some whiteouts. Quite a bit of snow on the boardwalk there in the background. As I stated, there has been some earthquakes, but USGS has not reported anything since the 4th. This is a slow-moving, long-duration earthquake that probably brought up some heated material, toxic gases, and you can see the lighter lines at the top. Now this one on the left is for Moose Creek, Idaho, and that's the direction when the magma comes up from the plume, moves under Yellowstone Lake, and then towards the Snake River Plateau. The next one, which you'll see, we got little spots of lighter blue. That is Denny Creek. Denny Creek's been showing a lot of activity. And then the far right, that one there is the promontory there at Yellowstone Lake. This one here, I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to change it to so you can see the earthquake signature. Oop. All right there. We'll make that bigger. I made sure I looked up online that there was nothing globally for the time that this earthquake occurred. Yeah, we had 2 spikes, a lot of rounded signatures. Now that's an indication that magma is flowing. And see, we got a long, almost looks like a long P wave, but I believe that is a slow moving tremor. Oh, it went small on me. Okay. And then we had a spike, a little popping, and then some more popping a little bit later. Let's go back to the spectrogram. Yeah, the spectrogram shows the heat coming up. Oh, I went past what I was looking at. I wanted to show you that. These are pockets of melt, where as the magma comes up, heats the crust of the earth, and there is pockets of melt only about 600 feet under where people are walking there at the park along the different boardwalks. Look at that. As the ground cracks, and then we get what's called dike intrusion, which allows more pockets of melt closer to the surface. See those not as bright signature for the different colors, but yeah, only 600 feet from where people are walking. Think of a sponge, an old-fashioned sea urchin sponge with the different pockets, the little holes inside the sponge. Now think of those holes as having melted rock. Yeah, and that's the best example for what I say is the pockets of melt underneath where people are walking. Some areas are more heated than other areas. The heat is closer to the crust, which you can see where the snow has melted. In the background here, this is the Mallard Lake Resurgent Dome. The Mallard Lake Resurgent Dome is about 6 by 12 miles. Yeah, it's kind of a oblong shape. So it's 12 miles long and about 6 miles wide. I wonder if they'll zoom back in on the buffalo. I'm going to wait here a second. While I wait, I'm going to look at what's been happening more recently. This slow-moving tremor was occurring about 1 a.m. Central Daylight Time. And then more recently, yeah, we got a lot of magma on the move here. You can see the heat that was coming up. Now this is at 10:37 Universal Time, or about 4 a.m., and it continued for quite a few hours. Let's take a look at the seismic signature. Sharpened points. Now this means that because the magma is moving and rising up, it's actually cracking the crust of the earth, allowing more magma to come in. We do have another one here that is marked in red that USGS is not reporting. Let me pull that up. And we'll look at the spectrogram. Look at the heat. Yeah. Yeah, heat came all the way up, it looks like, to the upper magma chamber. Here's an example of that magma chamber. You can see how the plume comes up. Yeah, and so it's somewhere, yeah, within probably 3 kilometers or 1.8 miles probably. And then it doesn't really show here, but the different dike intrusions. Here's another image that shows that magma as it comes up from the plume and travels going towards the west. There in Idaho, along the Snake River Plateau. That's why they're getting so many earthquakes, I believe. Yeah, you know, there at the craters of the moon, it's only been about 2,000 years since they had an eruption there. The Native Americans in that location actually witnessed the magma, coming up, erupting into lava and flowing across the landscape. Using Google Earth, here is the Snake River Plateau, and this here is the craters of the moon. You can see the magma, and this only erupted about 2,000 years ago. This other location, Black Butte Crater lava field, that was 12,000 years ago. And they don't talk about this. They always talk about how 360,000 years ago, the last major eruption. They don't talk about these smaller eruptions. Let's see, and then we got Hell's Half Acre. That was maybe 4 to 5,200 years ago. You can see the lava that flowed there. So here's this one earthquake that did happen that USGS is not reporting at 3:13 Universal Time. You can see it at Moose Creek, Idaho. And yeah, it shows up at the promontory. Does not show up at Denny Creek for some reason. That was at 9:10 p.m. Central Daylight Time. That comes in as a magnitude at least a 1.80. At least. And let's go back to the seismic signature. Yeah, see, fault movement. Yeah, the uplift of the ground. A lot of popping was going on yesterday. See that? Now it's pointing towards the top, the majority of the signature of the earthquake. So that means it came from the south of Moose Creek, Idaho monitor. Yeah, a lot of popping. And you can see all the heat that was coming up before that. And I'll bring it over. Yeah, each line that's marked in red, right there is one, means that the monitor picked up the earthquake, and they did send messages to whoever is supposed to be watching. Doesn't mean they're watching. This one's a little bit larger. You can see it's not that deep. Yeah, and we got, well, like down there in the Mediterranean, that one island that's been having all the earthquakes, and people are evacuating. They're worried that there's going to be another eruption of its caldera, and I reported it yesterday. That was the island of Santorini. It's probably got a population of about 20,000, but you know, we've been seeing more and more activity at different volcanoes around the world. Yeah, and a lot of earthquakes in diverse places. I wish they would zoom into the little bison, or buffalo. People call them buffalo, but these are actually bison. I sometimes do that myself. So I want to check out another monitor, and this is the promontory. Yeah, you can see all the... Now the promontory I've talked about, this is there at the end of Yellowstone Lake. Here we got Yellowstone Lake, and this is the monitor right down here. Over to the west, to the left, that is what they call West Thumb. Or sometimes I call it Little West Thumb. They actually have a crack. It hasn't broken through here in the middle of the lake, which is causing spreading. And then up over here is Mary Bay. That was a hydrothermal eruption that created Mary's Bay about 13,000 years ago. But there's a crack. Let me show you. Alright, so this image here, let me make it bigger. Okay, let me bring this over. There's the crack. I don't know if you can see the crack that runs along the one island. Can you see that? Make it a little bit bigger. It hasn't broken through, but one day it will. But the uplift is causing the spreading to occur at Yellowstone Lake, which is this image here on the right. And they got arrows showing, yeah, the different direction that it's moving. And yeah, it got different little earthquakes that when this image was produced. Yeah, stars and circles for different earthquakes. And they do have an image of the depth of this crack. Yeah, for, let me bring this over so you can see. So about 2 kilometers as of the date of this photo, but this photo is, yeah, not recent. 2 kilometers, 1.2 miles, that there is actually magma, yeah, close to the surface of the earth. And once again, I talk about the pockets of magma. Only 900 feet where people are walking. So, yeah, it's fairly shallow. You know, any earthquake can happen to cause an eruption for any volcano. Any volcano can erupt with no warning whatsoever. None whatsoever. So what are your thoughts about all this? Yeah, earthquakes and volcanic eruptions and possible volcanic eruptions happening around the world. Let me move this over. Yeah, this is the Mallard Lake Resurgent Dome. Yellowstone's got 2 resurgent domes. This is 12 miles long by 6 miles wide. And there is a hardened dike of magma. Lava is called magma when it's still under the ground, which is preventing the magma that's making Mallard Lake Resurgent Dome rise up. But there's a dike between this area here at the bottom and the Firestone River from past eruptions. Looks like they're looking at Yellowstone. Oh, excuse me, Old Faithful. Looks like they're looking at Old Faithful. A little dirty. The only people that can get in right now is by snowmobile or snow coach. And looks like there's some people down here along the boardwalk waiting for it to go off. Yeah, I don't know when it's going to go off, but anyways, that's all I have for you right now. If you happen to have any thoughts or comments or even questions, please put it down below. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, please share, and it's good to be back. And I'll talk to you later. God bless you all. Bye.